Well, hello there, Transmission 64 viewers, and welcome to this very special roundtable discussion of sorts with myself, Mibri, and three spooky gentlemen this evening. So these gentlemen are the design team from the supergroup known as the Pumpkins, who graced our screens very recently at Zoo Party with a wonderful demo, All Hallows Eve, released at Zoo 2022 in Finland. There were, how big was the team? 28 sceners were involved, is that correct?
I think the final number was 26, wasn't it?
26. That's still an astonishing number of people.
28.
26, 28, an even number around then. And collectively they were known as the Pumpkins. The individual groups that contributed personnel were Atlantis, Bonzai, Genesis Project, Lethargy, Offense, Pretzel Logic, and Raft Designs, which is kind of outrageous, but that's where we are in the scene in 2022. I'm going to introduce the panel. Shall we? How about you introduce yourselves? Let's start with our graphicians. Who do we have?
Should we start with me, maybe?
That sounds good. Yeah.
Bonzai. Hi all.
We have the Sarge. We have the Sarge of Fairlight and Bonzai with us.
Yeah, brother from another mother, that we sometimes call it.
Indeed.
And I'm Mikael. I'm from Pretzel Logic. Nice to be here, Mibri. Thank you.
Mikael of Pretzel Logic. And on the bottom left of my screen, we have another handsome gentleman. Who do we have here?
That's me. Hi, Trap from Pumpkins / Bonzai.
Trap of the Pumpkins and the Seniors and the Santas, but mostly the Pumpkins. Mostly the Pumpkins. We're going to talk about the Pumpkins tonight.
Until the next one.
Until the next one. Tantalizing. Well, I noticed before the demo's credits roll, the credits at the end of All Hallows Eve, it stated that the demo took 98 days to make, and I think that's longer than it took our team to do the Santas, if I'm not mistaken. It's basically over 3 months.
1 week more, yeah.
1 week more, okay. So with that said, shall we start right at the beginning of the process of getting this demo rolling? Could you tell me about how the project was born, how it started from the outset, whose idea was it, and when did you start assembling the team?
Yeah, and that was actually 98 days ago from the release date, because that was the day Rachel and I, after we made the whole census thing, we knew this would not be the last major co-op we would be doing. So around early August we started chatting about it, and I believe it was the August 11th or something like that. 98 days anyway. We agreed, okay, let's do this. We're going to get this crazy new Halloween co-op going. And so I started to ask around. Well, Sarge, he was obviously in. He had to be in, because he came to me when we were doing right after Santa's and said, "I'm so sorry, I didn't make it. I wanted to be in that so much, so I knew I didn't even have to ask him." And obviously, well, with me, the Bonzai guys didn't have an option; they were forced to be a part of it.
Of course.
And initially, I really wanted to. What I liked about the previous mega co-ops was to get new groups, to get new constellations together. So the first group I asked, that was Mikael and the Pretzel Logic guys, because they are doing so many awesome things, and I get so many good vibes from these guys. So I asked them, and then all the other guys just somehow appeared. I'm not even sure how, but the group sort of came on its own.
Appeared like
and
apparitions.
Then it happened. Then Raistlin, he hadn't really done anything, and he then wrote a message to me saying, "I'm out. I'm not doing it anyway." And I was like, "What? I just opened this door, this massive amount of work, and you just sort of, there you go. That's all yours." I
Wow,
was
okay.
like, oh God, what have we done? So I think the reality is, even though we came up with the pumpkins and the Halloween demo in early August, I that was a week or two before Function, and everybody was busy doing demos for Function. So in reality, I think this demo was actually done in 2 months
Wow.
because it took some time for other things to get done.
So you can charitably call it 98 days, but in reality, it's more like 2 months.
Yeah.
Incredible.
But
Okay.
Trap, I remember that you reached out to me and said, bring on the team. And we have this Discord for Pretzel Logic, and I popped the question, and it didn't take too long, and almost the entire crew was up for this immediately. And we were not doing anything for Function. Of course, we have other, both major and minor productions going. But on a personal level, I really felt like I wanted to be a part of this. And if I remember correctly, I think I drew the intro logo the very first day the Trap asked me and sent it back.
Yeah.
And you became nuts about it and wanted to do something and said, I can't code it right now because I have this other thing, but that doesn't really work for me. So I started producing 2 or 3 more parts during that time. So I put the torch under Trap's ass.
Yeah.
And then the team came on board.
But you started coding it right away, Trap, I think.
Yeah.
Because it was very soon after starting this project that I saw that Pumpkins intro done in code. And that stressed me out totally. I felt, now I'm behind. Now I have to do stuff. But we were finishing our announcement demo for Function, I think. So I had a bit of problem to restart my brain and make this demo. So
yeah, that's a good point because you've all been
very
so
quick
active.
starting this demo, Mikael. And Trap.
But I speak with Joachim almost daily since a couple of years back, 3 or 4 years back, 3 at least. And then I know that you told me that I will catch up, and you did. Big time later.
I don't have time for this stupid demo, I said.
I remember that.
Yeah.
It's funny because it sort of consumes you, right?
It does. Yeah.
You're pulled into this meta universe.
Yeah.
I know that
consists
feeling.
of the team.
Yeah.
And that's everything you are and everything you do. You remember it, Mibri. You were part of the Santa.
I do, yeah. And I wanted to ask about how that experience compared with the Pumpkins experience, because I don't want to talk about the Santa's demo too much, but really we were working on that at what was, in all honesty, quite a dark time for a lot of people, myself included. We're in the midst of a pandemic, late 2020, and it was almost like a special mission to put smiles on faces. So it felt like a Christmas miracle in progress, and we couldn't really leave the house anyway for the most part, so thought we might as well do something to put some smiles on faces. I guess that wasn't really the circumstances this time around, because we could go out to actual demo parties and socialize and what have you, and not be stuck in the office working, if not stuck in the home office actually. So it must have been a markedly different kind of super co-op to the one we actualized on that occasion, or were there similarities as well?
I think that the Pumpkins experience was very much lifted by the Santa's experience. That even though the circumstances for the Santa's demo were, as you said, it was under the pandemic and everybody was at home anyway, but because people heard how much fun we had making that. And when we announced this Pumpkins thing, people just wanted to be a part of it. To get the same experience. So we were all under COVID-19 for like these 2-3 months that it took to make All Hallows Eve.
I hear you. So it's good to have the 3 of you together on this on this round table, because as it happens on CSDB, if you look in the credits, you will see that you 3 gentlemen are credited with design for this demo. Not just graphics or code, but design. And it seems to be a seldom used credit for even larger demos on CSDB. So with that said, I was wondering, what do you three think? What does design mean in Commodore 64 demos in 2022? Like, what makes great design? What does that mean?
Should I start, Mikael?
Yeah, please.
For me, it means making cohesive demo with some kind of story that fits the theme, and it shouldn't be all different parts spread out without anything connecting them. So we have to have used some kind of the same font that works for this production, and the choice of colors and all the different graphic parts should work together to make a cohesive demo. That's the thing with design for me. One important part of this is the pacing of the demo too, so it doesn't get stuck into parts that loops on forever that makes people tired looking at them.
Yeah.
So rapid pace, showing new things all the time. That's design for me.
Yeah, that seems to be a delicate balance, because you don't want, I think overall you want to leave people wanting more than having them feel like they've had enough, but still you don't want to have a really awesome part being too fleeting on screen. You know, you want to give people a decent dose of the really, really good stuff, but you don't want it to outstay its welcome. And it's a question of, you know, based on my experience working with, you know, Dr. Science on Atlantis demos and things, it's a question of, you know, how long do we have these parts stick around for, and how long does my section of music need to be to match up to it? It's this constant hand-wringing over these things.
Yeah. I like the idea of having really awesome parts that are just 10 seconds, and then you don't see them again.
Leave them wanting more.
It's much truth in that, but I also remember a thing that I think is important that Trap told me early on in this project when we were initiating all these parts, and that was to go and seek out different people, form new teams, meet with other people that you don't usually work with. And that both triggered me and it made me think differently, and it also you need to listen more. You can't just do things. Of course, you need to have a drive, but this is a cooperation, which is very important. So bringing that together with the design aspect means that quite early on in the project, because the three of us had this design team formed quite early on, we got a number of parts, and then we sat down and discussed how we were going to put them in a kind of, I'm not sure if I'm saying the right word here, but dramaturgical way. I mean, the pace is one thing, but it needs to have interesting, they needs to be interesting after one another, and it needs to have both tops and downs, because it makes the viewer stay alert.
Okay.
So, and since Joachim works a lot in the film and editing business, which is very convenient here, we did mock-ups of pretty much things that we were producing. So sometimes when we had the design ideas but hadn't coded them yet, some of us, not just me and the Sarge, are really fast at pixeling. Spyam is one of them. Joe is the same thing, and so on. So then we could make miniature designs of that, do mock-ups, and test them in the sort of time frame, so to say.
Right.
I think you understand what I mean. And that was a good thing, because it's quite easy to change the order and see what works best, and should we shorten this part or lengthen it or something. So that's important when you work with design. I'm a graphics designer too for profession, so I think that our professions and our passion for the C64 were really this project benefited from that, I think.
Sure, that's interesting. Yeah, I can see how that would how that would be transferable to making a demo of that scope. I wanted to ask, the Sarge mentioned something. Go ahead, Trap.
That was also one of the major differences from the Santas to this was we didn't have a design team for Santas. It was just Raistlin, Sparta, and me just putting the parts in.
Yeah.
But this time, people with opinions, and that really changed the dynamics. Obviously, after the meeting that Mikael told about, where the three of us, we sat down and looked, okay, what do we have here? We have all these parts. The parts were still being developed, but we have the meat of the demo. We sat down and Mikael and Sarge, they already had pretty much everything laid out. So I just sat down, drank my beer and said, yeah, okay. And then we sat down and tried to actually realize that. And then reality comes and bites you and says, okay, you cannot have that many parts on one side. We had to move things around anyway and limited by technology. So it didn't turn exactly out how it was supposed to, but almost.
Okay. You've got to make compromises here and there, I suppose. I was wondering about the... I really enjoy the kind of continuity parts with the spooky little rhymes, like featuring a thing from the Addams Family. I thought that was a really neat idea that I imagine stemmed from the kind of design discussions you were having. So how did those little sections come about, and who was responsible for writing the text? Was that an individual effort or a group thing?
That was Trap writing the text.
Oh, was it? Excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was. But I think that the idea came from someone else, not the design team. But we had. It's worth mentioning that if we have these really large groups, this corporation of this size, it was important to work from either Slack or Discord or something like that, because you need to have a view of the flow and have discussions within teams and together and stuff like that. And someone from the Pumpkins quite early on mentioned this hand called the Thing from the Addams Family. Could that be something to do funny things? And then it evolved, and that fitted very well with the design ideas that we were discussing, and how do we get this common thread within all these various parts. So that was a very good thing to use, I think.
You could tell you were having some fun with it.
Decided to do that those hand sequences when I had done my first editing draft of the demo. I recorded the complete demo and cut it up and inserted some mock-ups of parts that wasn't coded yet. So we had, before it was coded and linked together, we had an MP4 basically with the whole demo that we all looked at and tried to make sense of it all. Yeah. And at one time we kind of thought we needed some small interludes telling the cohesive story of the demo. And then somewhere around that time we decided to use the hand with some explaining text to drive a little story. So that's basically how the hand happened.
Right.
But as you said, the hand idea was from someone.
Yeah, someone else.
In Slack. Sorry, I don't remember who it was.
There was so many ideas. I mean, we at some point we had one channel in Slack that was only about discussions of design. I'm guessing we'll get into how the whole development process. But for this one, we pinned a document, and everybody could write in their ideas. And the document, there's so many ideas left. There's at least one more demo for everything.
Do another one next year.
Already there. There was so much content, so many ideas.
Wow.
And as in all well-working projects, people take their roles. Sine, for instance, he took all the ideas and put them into a document and organized that. And this editing thing, for instance, made it a lot easier for the musicians, because immediately they knew how long the parts would ultimately become.
Yeah.
So it was a lot easier for them to tweak their tunes or stuff like that. So from my perspective, this was almost like working. It was a very professional touch to everything. And it didn't kill creativity or made it boring. On the other hand, it made it a lot more fun because we knew we had a tight deadline, because quite early on we decided that we were going for the zoo party because we realized that it was very close to Halloween and we were making a Halloween demo. So we had a definite deadline, and we needed to use tools and also have people on the right positions. So speaking about graphics, I think that we pretty much know about the strengths of each individual. And for instance, we have Spyham, who's fantastic with animations. Of course, he does animations and stuff like that. Then he gets energy from that, and others can focus on still images or larger bitmaps, things like that, for instance. So it was a very good flow, and I think UTrap made us really comfortable in this process, which is and made it a lot of fun. So it never felt like labor. It was all joy for 3 months. And all of a sudden, the demo was over, and you'd never understood where the time went.
Yeah,
that's very true.
It sounds fabulous, that mix of like freewheeling creativity and professionalism at the same time. That seems to be sadly quite rare, but it's really quite palpable in the finished product for what it's worth. I think that gives it some real staying power. I could watch that demo all year round, you know, probably even more so than the Santa's demo, even though it's obviously a Halloween themed thing. You mentioned that Slack was am I right in saying Slack was the principal tool for communicating and sharing things?
Yes.
Okay. So what other kind of tools on the kind of macro level were you using besides Slack in terms of, say, making the graphics, or what loader system were you using for that matter? What kinds of things were you relying on?
I can start with me. Just when we started this Pumpkins demo, I switched tools. I've always used Pixel to pixel my stuff, but grew tired of it because it lacks decent animation tools, and there's a pretty good amount of animations in this demo. So I just started using something called Sprite or something.
Oh, so yeah, I'm familiar.
That's main pixel tool, and it has extremely good animation tools, and you can work with different sizes and export sprite sheets to the coders in an instant, something which was very tricky to do with Pixel before. So that's my main weapon of demo making right now. And of course, I used After Effects to do the mock-ups, and Photoshop to do some sketching, etc. And the demo editing I did in Premiere. So that's pretty much my tools that I used.
Right. How about you, Mikael? Similar sort of gear?
I always use Multipaint, which I think is a brilliant program by Tero. I really love it, Dr. Tero Z. I've been using that for 4 years or something now. But for some things, I used Photoshop a couple of times because I needed to make masks of a few things for the sprite carpets that Trap were coding. So it was easier to open up my bitmap images in Photoshop and do a kind of masking there, and then deliver new files for Trap. So, but I do all the pixel work by hand in Multipaint, but it was convenient. And then I worked on a part, for instance, with Honcho of Atlantis, and with did this pump up the volume thing, which was going to be quite up tempo with music by Flotsam. And then we had these sprites that were going to turn 360 degrees. So I pixeled them, but I moved them. I turned them, so to say, in Photoshop, and then I repixeled them all again. And then he did some code tricks to zoom them. So it was a lot of job. So although you have tools, you still need to to be a good craftsman, so to say. Otherwise, it will look like crap anyway, and you can't take any shortcuts. I've been doing this since '86, and I think that's why we can be so fast these days, and we know what we do. And that's not boasting; it's just facts from doing it too many hours, falling asleep on the keyboard. Dad, wake you up.
I know it's true. So on the
good
code side
thing
of
now,
things, what do you?
Sorry.
Oh, you go ahead, Sarge.
Yeah, the good thing now with the tools we have now is it enables you to just do the pixel work, and when you're going to do the chores like exporting stuff and arranging stuff and all the tricky file fiddling around stuff, it's so much easier today than before. But the pixel craft is still the same like it was in 85, 86. As said, Mikael.
But it was also nice to have a framework, because I think that the tools for graphicians are quite analog, so to say. But being a graphician, I still really enjoy when the project is taken care of in a good way, when they know what to do, because Trap and Sparta set up where is music supposed to be located, where is code going, and everything like that. How much space do you have for graphics and things like that? Because making demos today is just like I mentioned before, it's quite similar to regular job in that aspect, that you have all these professional aspects of things. If you want to make the very, very best out of the C64, you need to have the framework, and you need to how much you can stretch the limits.
Right.
And that was very carefully taken care of by Trap, and also Sparta. Sparta was very good at this project because it was so fast, and people were working at a very good pace. I could mention everyone in the team. Elder, it doesn't matter who I mentioned, but he was so fast at putting together the new versions of the parts and loading it and linking it up, so we could look at it immediately. And that also made people what shall I say? I mean, everybody really felt like it was their project, and they saw that their parts were taken care of. It was a lot of fun, and it was so direct. And that also made us keep up the pace, because we could have made a good demo with 15 parts, but it's a lot of parts, and that's one of the crucial things. So thank you, Sparta, for that.
Yeah. Sparta did a monumental job on the link. But and because of Raistlin, he sort of just disappeared very early on in the process. He was a very big part of the linking process for the Sansa's demo.
He was.
I realized, okay, so I sort of created this monster, so I guess I will have to help out. And I knew one very important thing that Mikael so greatly says is, when we reached critical mass on parts, and that would be like we had 4 or 5, 6 parts, I don't think there was a point when Sparta and I we actually agreed on it, but it was like this unsaid agreement that we will deliver a daily build. Because at that point, new parts were added and parts were updated and changed. We didn't care about the sequence or anything. We just bring in your stuff, just keep producing content, and we'll link it as fast as humanly possible.
And that's very important, to keep the iron hot and keep working, get feedback and send the ball back and get the ball back again and work and enhance. I can't work in any other way.
And also, one of the very important things, that was one of the things I made clear to the entire team very early on, was now we're delivering these daily builds to you guys. And please be aware that this is our project. Everybody owns this. So if you see something, no matter if you're part of a specific thing, if you have an idea or comment, feedback, changes, ideas, bring them to the people who made that particular part of the demo. Bring yourself into play. And that gave everybody a feeling of ownership. And I think that was a very, very big part of why it just sort of, as soon as we set sail, it just did everything by itself.
Right.
Yeah, very true.
This does sound a little familiar with the Santa's situation as well, but sounds like you really dialed it up to 11 though on this occasion. So yeah, nice work on that. I wanted to ask, you know what I'm like, my background as some kind of musician, I'm always gonna gravitate towards the subject of sound and the role sound and music plays in a demo. I think there's a very deep and curiously varied, in the best possible way, soundtrack on All Hallows Eve. I was wanting to ask what your own reflections working with the tunes provided by the musicians. Do you have any favorites, or did you, as the sort of design team, did you make any requests of the composers for types of music or particular tunes, or were the composers completely free to just express themselves with the theme?
I think it was only the interludes that we discussed.
Exactly.
And Slash with Ash.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I see. Yes, of course.
The other part is pretty much up to the musicians, I think. Maybe the credits with the Thriller was some kind of request from someone. I don't remember.
No, I know that SMC had started on the Thriller tune. He told me that it was quite close to what he likes to do, and he felt like, this is my kind of music, I want to do it. And since we are reaching out to each other, Laxity and SMC really found each other there, and they made a brilliant version of It's Insane of Thriller. And they were working on that for quite some time with a fast pace, but they were tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. And we felt like that would be the perfect, because it has such a positive vibe to end the demo with that tune. So that was a kind of a decision there. But apart from that, I think that the musicians were like everybody else. I think they got a lot of inspiration from ideas and design mock-ups that they saw, because it was so visual. And then they kind of immediately knew what they would like to do with the audio part of that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if you agree, but...
I agree.
Yeah.
I think they did an awesome job, all of them.
Yeah.
Music is amazing in this demo.
It is.
It did turn out to be a little bit of a challenge, because all the music was made at the same time as all the parts, and we didn't have the sequence in place. So it was one big mess at one point. And we didn't know where to put all the music. I think that the interludes really saved us a long way. The intro music, that was carved in stone. The interludes was carved in stone. It was pretty late on we realized that the Thriller would be really good for the end part. But the rest of the music, there are a few places where we are fading the music. But I think we nailed most of it, because when the demo was looking more or less complete, we went back to the musicians and asked, okay, Syndrome, can you shorten this here, and can you change this, and instead of this fade out, could you do something else? Two good examples are the ending music for the Dancing Skeletons, and another one was actually the intro music, because the intro music is a fair bit longer. So if you download the release and you listen to the zip that is included, it's a lot longer than the one that's in the demo.
Okay. I have to listen to that full version.
Yeah. When we did the editing mock-up of the demo, we had that part with the Flotsams music with the
pump up the volume.
Yeah, exactly. Pump up the volume. And that, and when I edit those parts together, we realized it could go into high BPM. And when the candle skull came after those parts, we decided just to to tone down the music and go into some kind of ambient mode. And because we had edited this together in a mock-up, Flotsam had this visual base to work with. So he could do a really good job in changing the tune to something that fit the image in a way I think would have been much harder to make if we did it the old linking version way. So I'm really happy with how that part turned out in this demo.
Yeah, nice. I also, I remember there are some points where there's some quite precise sync between certain elements of a part and like sound effects. I think there's like a witch laughing over a cauldron at one point. Little things like that. And I know from experience that it's not a trivial thing to get those things to match and for them to be convincing and practical. Were there any? Did you find that was a challenge, or are you all seasoned pros at this sort of thing and I need to step my game up?
It was a bit of a challenge because on that part, Psych 8580 made that the tune for the hag, the witch part, the witch funk tune. It's really funky. And in the beginning, there's an owl howling, but we have a cat who's standing by the cauldron and having a cozy time. And from the beginning, the owl sound was quite similar to when the cat was moving its head, but that was totally wrong. So we needed to change the place for the animation, and we needed to time it differently. We had lots of laughs about that. But then when the hag was going to be animated there, Spyham did some stuff with the mouth, and it was a bit of a tweaking there between the graphician and Marcin, the musician, but it turned out really, really well. And we enjoyed that. I mean, we are men around 50 years old doing this thing on a very old machine and having so much fun about a witch going up and down and a laughter and a cat and stuff like that. It's total crap in one aspect, but it's so much fun in another aspect.
Yeah, there is a lot of fairly kid-friendly, spooky, fun stuff in the demo, like that, for instance. But there are also little flickers of some like real horror references in there too. Like you mentioned before, Slash with Ash, right? Slash with Ash, the game, right at the end, referencing Evil Dead. So I believe that was the Slash with Ash. The concept was yours, the Sarge, and that was programmed by Trap. I had to dig for these little details. I was wondering what the story was with that.
What the story is about Slash with Ash?
Yeah, are you all big horror fans as well as want to put
on I am a big horror fan. Especially those 80s cheap horror films. That's how I grew up. I have to say it was Honshu that coded the Slash with Ash part, the commercial.
The commercial, I see. Yes.
Usually the ideas always come to me from nowhere when I am out bicycling my usual training round. And this just popped up. I don't know why and where they come from, but I think the contrast in this little part is what makes it fun. The happy life, those beautiful little pumpkins that got slushed up by Ash. Not much to say about it, but
it's all there. Yeah.
all there.
Yeah, it's a very memorable
the tricky part was making it look like an old VHS tape. So we did Honshu did some distortion effect for it, and I made some sprite some sprite carpet animations that we did that worked really well, I think. And then we had this discussion with Laxity, who did music, to maybe if he could make the tune out of sync when the old VHS tapes got a bit tangled up in the machine.
Yeah.
It always goes like that. And Laxity was a bit skeptic at first if he could do it. But in the end, he really did some awesome work on that.
Yeah, so clever.
Turned out really.
Yeah, very, very clever.
It's so good you hardly notice it.
Yeah,
Really.
Power and subtlety. And that part kind of fed into
that part in a place where it really surprised people.
Yeah.
So it wasn't supposed to be a commercial for the game at the end.
Right.
Was it Laxity's idea to? He joked around, said, "Let's make a game about this."
I'm not sure. I think it was me in a conversation between you and me. Because I recall saying something like, "Okay, now you have the commercial for the movie, but we really need the game for the movie that never was."
Yeah.
That's to make it more confusing. And it was pretty late on that we decided to make the game.
Yes.
Like 2 weeks before deadline.
Yeah.
That was so stupid. I was working in like 5 different parts at that time.
Wow.
James Bond part times 1,000.
When you mentioned that you were making a game, I thought definitely that you were joking. And then in a second, I realized it was all true. And I think it was 2 weeks to deadline. And I know from experience with my team that it can be a lot of ideas in the end, and we usually pull it off. But that kind of stressed me out a little bit, and I wasn't even involved in the game because it was so important to finish off the demo in the best possible way. But they continued to work on the game, and I think 2 days later or something, it was a game. And then it could be tweaked, and that was kind of insane too. So and it doesn't stop there, Mibri, because then it evolves, the games becomes a little bit better, and then Trap says, we need to have someone crack the game. So we have a cracker group of a game within the demo.
That was excess, right?
Oh, it was marvelous.
Yeah.
So XS came aboard, and all of a sudden we have a game that is cracked within the demo.
Yeah. Stop them in their tracks. I'm not very good at this game, by the way. I have tried. I need to, maybe I'll go back to it and work on it. Yeah, maybe my skills are getting a little rusty. I did see someone do a YouTube capture of the demo, and they were even worse than me. I don't think they even scored any points, so I feel a little bit better about that. But I do need to spend some time with it. How long do you think it took you to do that then, Trap? Because you said you had another bunch of parts happening at the same time. And, I mean, have you done games before? Any little games like that?
No.
This is all new.
This was my first game.
Wow.
It wasn't supposed to be good. It was supposed to suck. Really.
I've played worse.
But Trap, it's also interesting. It was supposed to suck. I remember the discussions. Hey, we should have a high score list. Can we save that to the disc and all stuff like that? So it was pretty serious after all.
Yeah. The problem with the game really was the usual thing with Sarge and me is in this case I came up with this idea, and then Sarge, he just rolled with it, and then things just kept on going. And I have this thing with Sarge, I cannot say no, because and maybe that's one of the things. I have the same with Mikael, and when we come up with all these ideas, I know that if somebody presents an idea to me and I act on it and I deliver something back, it doesn't have to be perfect and done. Just something, okay, here are the first 2 pixels moving of that idea, then you get that ping pong effect, and other people get fired up, and everything just blows up. It's when you don't get any feedback from your peers, that's when things stop.
That's when things grind to a halt. Yeah, I know what you mean. All right, fabulous. Just to wind things down just a little bit, I did note that. Oh, congratulations on winning the competition! By the way, I should probably say that at some point. You did come first in the demo compo, and it was a very hotly contested competition as well. There were some very interesting demos that finished second, third, fourth, etc. And prizes were won by the Pumpkins, but as I understand it, they were donated. What was going on there?
I believe it was Scrap's idea. At some point, at first we didn't want to win the competition. I must say that in all fairness, and I don't think we should have won. It wasn't the best demo. That's one thing.
Interesting.
But
okay.
Then we did have to have the discussion. So what are we going to do if we win something? We knew there was a very expensive Mega 65 as the first prize. What do we do if you win? I suggested let's sell it and we make T-shirts for everybody. And I think it was Scrap or Flotsam, I'm not sure. One of those guys came up with the idea, why don't we just donate the money to something good? And everybody just agreed this was the best idea. Because we can always make T-shirts, but and so Flotsam he kindly took care of that, and he found these 2 organizations, Kids with Cancer and some cancer research, and these 2 organizations we wanted to donate all the money to. The funny thing then happened after we'd won, and Flotsam, he managed to sell the machine, and then I know that was Scrap. Scrap, he then said, okay, because we had 675 euros, and he said, I'll bump it up to 700. And then somebody else, I'll bump it up to 725. And then we ended up everybody donating, so we had 1,100 euros.
Oh, wow.
I
didn't know that.
We paid our own price. We lost money on this.
Oh wow, good on you though. That's really fantastic. Nice work with that. I mean, it's hard to see how you could have shared one Mega 65 between 28 sceners anyway. But I think it's a really brilliant idea that you went ahead with that. So good on you for that. So you mentioned Trap. It wasn't you don't think you deserved to win. Who should have won the demo compo?
Oh, I'm not sure, because I mean, Skybox was awesome.
Yeah.
But also the Finnish Gold demo was really, really great. I mean, there's this discussion on CSTB. So what is it about these co-op groups? Some people did not seem to really, appreciate that so many people in one co-op go up against groups of 4, 5, 6 people. Is it fair? I don't know. What is fair? I mean, there are groups that consist of 20, 30 people, just as big as this co-op. Maybe not everybody involved in a single production, but I mean, like Genesis Project, Sensor Designs, big groups, many people. Potentially, they could produce something similar if they had somebody like me, of course.
Of course.
But they don't. They don't.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So we all know how much effort it is to make a good demo, and some of the other demos had a lot better code, and I'm sure a lot more time went into making these things with fewer people. But well, it is what it is. We're obviously happy that we won, and we think we did something good with that win, to donate the money to a good cause. So yeah,
absolutely, yeah. I think it's worth noting that to bring so many different people together from different groups with different skill sets is not a trivial thing in and of itself. You know, so you might say having having lots and lots of very talented folks on one ship is, if not cheating, then kind of an unfair advantage. But actually, it's it's a lot. It's got to be a lot to manage, Trap. I mean, I suppose you're a veteran at this kind of thing at this point, but I wouldn't know where to start personally. So I do think you deserve some credit for making it happen once again.
Thanks. It wasn't that difficult. I mean, we'd done it before. We had the blueprint.
I suppose.
But
so,
if
yeah.
we rewind the tape, I like to recall that it wasn't that much discussion on Slack about winning or something. We were so focused on doing a really, really good Halloween demo and to have fun. And it was several of the guys that says, why are you into this project? I want to learn. I want to meet new people. And it sounds so beautiful, but it's actually true. So how it would end in the demo compo wasn't that important to the Pumpkins. I think the joy of doing this thing on a 40-year-old machine, that was the main thing that pulled us together. I have never felt it like that before. It was a very special project, and I will always treasure that and keep it close to my heart because it was such a wonderful project. And after that, I've met a lot of new people that I have contact with on social media that I never met before, although we've been on the scene for so many years. So that was the real up thing about this, I think.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, well, fine work once again, gentlemen.
One of the important things for me when we started this whole thing was to give very clear communication that everybody should go into this with an open heart and an open mind. Don't set your opinions. Don't write them in stone. Go out, match up with people in other groups, make your own little teams, and agree. Listen to what your peers have to say. Give feedback, provide feedback, get feedback, use it. We all in this for the very same reason, to have fun.
Fundamentally, yeah.
And it was a lot of fun, and but everybody understood that concept, that approach. That listen to what your teammates are telling you, and be honest with them. Honesty brings you very far. In this anyway. Not sure it would work in real life work.
One can hope, right? Well, very well said. I do appreciate that, and I think it's really something to aspire to. You know, I'm lucky to have a very supportive and good-humored pair of crews. You know, Proxima, Atlantis, Multi-Style Labs. You know, we fun first is a good mantra. You know, some might say simplistic, but I do think there's real iron in those words. So I do appreciate the Pumpkins crew for bringing it to life and having a lot of fun with your concept. If I may ask, with that said, with the spirit of that ringing in my ears, am I allowed to know what the three of you have up your sleeves for the coming months and, dare I say, going into 2023? Do you have anything you can share at this point? Do we have some fireworks to look forward to?
Hopefully.
You know what I'm talking about.
As for Pretzel Logic, we've been working on 2 major projects for quite some time, but we've been so productive. We release quite small and medium things all the time, but that doesn't really matter. We are very passionate about what we do, so it's fun. Like Joachim said, it's fun to get things out quite quickly, and then you can always work parallel with the bigger things too. It nourishes each other because sometimes you need to kind of take a pause from what you do. But we have 2 major things going, and also a platform game. That we haven't talked about. So that's in the works too.
Oh, how interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So that's coming, and some minor things, of course.
Sure.
But Compos isn't everything to us. It's. I'm not even sure that we will have something for X. To be honest, I think it's going to be a fierce competition, but I want to, on a personal level, keep the joy and not kill myself with Compos.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think you're really hitting something here, Michael, because ever since COVID, we decided to release our X demo Bromance for Good Data in 2021. I don't know. It's some years ago. I think last year. I sort of realized that the X had become this dominant thing that everybody should strive for, and everybody should go do this. So it was such a relief to release a Bromance for Group Data, which is a fairly small but very, very cozy demo party. And after that, I just sort of had this, okay, I need to provide way more support to all the other parties, like Zoo, like Function, like Fawn Data with the Christmas demo. It's much more fun. And I think it really evens out the whole demo scene, because it shouldn't turn into this bi-yearly world games of demos down in Holland. It shouldn't be. It's unhealthy. And I'm seeing a lot of the conversations in the forums is also very much like, okay, we probably won't see many demos the next half year because everybody's working on the X demo. Why? There are other parties. Is it really that important? Yes, I know for some people, there's a certain Swedish group, I won't mention it by name, but I'm pretty sure they're extremely dialed in on X. I don't know why. We are not.
But we're still gonna. I think you're bluffing up to a point. We're still gonna see.
I can tell you exactly how much we have for X.
Okay, interesting. All right. Well, I won't press you any more on that particular subject, but I do like that. You know, I haven't even been to X before myself. I've been robbed of the opportunity thus far, and I am very much looking forward to going next year, all being well. But you know, if the proliferation of online parties or parties that have had to go online and all that, I have it really kept the lights on for me mentally, having these smaller events to submit tunes for and all that. So I completely understand where you're coming from. And it seems some of these smaller parties, if you can call them smaller parties, have become pretty sizable in their own right, like Zoo, where All Hallows Eve was released. I guess it really seemed like a really big Premier League style compo in the end, with the breadth and the quality of those releases. So no, I think people aren't really buying the X is the be all and end all thing. I think there is you can dip into any demo party and you're gonna find some quality these days, because there are just so many others doing it at this point, right? C60. I mean, I suppose I'm a newcomer relatively, aren't I? And I'm not feeling tired of this yet. I'm in it for the long haul, and that's down to folks like yourselves making these beautiful productions happen, whether they be one-filers or co-op mega demos. It's all delicious food for the likes of me. So thanks again for the inspiration. Is there anything else before we turn the lights off here? Anything else you'd like to add before we call it a night?
I think I'll just say thank you to Transmission for having us. It's been fun.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you. Our pleasure. We really do appreciate this, and yeah, we'll do another talk like this after the next mega demo. How does that sound?
Sounds
Great.
All right, very good. Well, cheers, folks. Thanks again for your time, and all the best for now. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.